I don't think I ever believed that it would never fly, but I also realized it would be a monumental program to get it flying again. My name's Cord Freeman, I'm the Concorde engineering manager. My day job is the overseeing of the basic care, maintenance and airworthiness aspects of the British Airways Concorde fleet. Since the 16th of August last year, my job has been in working with the manufacturers and the airworthiness authorities to determine the package of work that's required to get the aircraft back into the air again.
My name is Mike Bannister, I'm Flight Manager Concorde, and I've been flying Concorde since 1977. My day job is the technical and training aspects of flight ops and the line management of the crew, but since July last year I've been very actively involved in British Airways' efforts to restore the Certificate of Airworthiness. We all clearly remember those tragic pictures of the Air France accident in Paris back in July of last year. We now know an awful lot more, and what the accident investigators are telling us that some very unusual and unique things happened. Perhaps I could just take you through that the key elements have been explained to us by the accident investigators. There was a piece of metal on the runway, and that piece of metal was a very peculiar shape and also lying in a very unusual position. And what happened was it caused one of the tyres to be destroyed in a manner that the manufacturers have subsequently said was unique.
That then resulted in a rather large portion of that tyre being released, shooting straight up at a very high velocity and impacting the wings somewhere in this sort of area over here, around about that sort of circular mark.
The wing is the fuel tank, and that part of the wing at the time was full of fuel. And in a mechanism which had been previously unknown in civil aviation, it set up a shock wave inside the fuel. That led to some very large forces pushing out a piece of tank skin. That tank skin was literally forced out from inside,
which then resulted in this massive fuel leak, somewhere in the region of about 100 litres per second of fuel gushed out.
And something ignited that fuel. Not absolutely sure yet, so the process is to make sure that any possible ignition source is addressed. We now know that it wasn't the reheat, it was something in this area, probably electrical.
One of the theories that they have is that one of the wiring looms may have become severed during the actual incident and so induced a spark which would have caused the ignition for the actual fire.
So the three key elements were a unique destruction of the tyre, a unique mechanism which caused a leak in the fuel tank, this massive leak of fuel, and an ignition. And the major parts of the modification are designed to break the chain in a number of places to stop those key things happening, to make sure that the accident in Paris can never happen again.
One of the objectives of the modifications is to actually prevent that huge big gushing out of fuel should there be another fuel tank rupture or puncture in the future. That's the objective of this particular component of the modification. These are called fuel tank liners. Its construction is basically Kevlar. The black substance you see on it is a rubber compound that we use on Concorde. It's a compound called Viton sealant. Basically, it has really good heat resistance capabilities. So the combination of these two results in a really strong but very flexible component for lining the fuel tanks. It is used currently in Formula One racing cars and also in military helicopters for lining fuel tanks to prevent huge big rupturings in the event of a missile hit or something similar. It's installed partly using some of the existing structure, but also introducing around about 4,000 additional attachment brackets to hold it in place. And that's the basic installation. As you can see, the liner is suitably molded to suit the internal parts of the fuel tank. I actually have in my hand a sample of the old wiring loom, which as you can see was a bunch of wires contained within a thin aluminium tube. Now the theory is that a piece of the tyre or a piece of the hard metal that is contained within the landing gear may have come up, struck this piece of wiring, severed it, and so induced an actual live spark that could have ignited the actual fuel and so resulting in the flame. What the manufacturers have actually designed to take care of that problem is a new type of wiring loom, which first of all contains a small amount of PTFE tape or Teflon tape as we most commonly know it to further insulate the wires, and in addition to that they've wrapped that in a very strong and tough stainless steel flexible braiding, which then will take care of one of the potential ignition sources. And Alpha Fox, the aircraft that we're standing next to, has actually had that modification embodied. Air France have taken their aircraft on 2 test flights to do trials in the new near-zero growth tyres that Michelin have produced. When you think about it, the 2 airlines are the only 2 in the world that actually operate this aeroplane. So it's a combined project. Just about to see the 3rd aircraft in the modification program. This is Oscar Alpha Golf. As I say, aircraft number 3. The program is really starting to gain momentum now. Next week we'll be working 2 aircraft at a time. As soon as these 2 aircraft are finished, they roll out and start entering into the flying program, and the next 2 come in, and that's pretty much the pace that we're going to work until we've got all 7 aircraft modified. It is extremely tight, and it actually requires a bit of finesse and technique to do it, but as you can see, he's extremely well practiced. How's it going?
All right, thanks.
It's warm enough, is it?
It's very warm in there. The worst part of the job really has been getting in and out of the tanks. It's very cramped, as you can appreciate. You come home with a few bumps and bruises you didn't have when you came in at the start of the shift.
Those are the key elements of the modifications, but a lot's been going on during the time that Concorde's been here in the hangar. We've taken the opportunity to start the installation of a brand new interior. New seats, carpets, curtains are going in now. A little later on, new washrooms, new galley equipment, really moving the interior of Concorde not only into the 21st century, but making sure it matches the needs of our very demanding Concorde customers. I've always had a huge amount of confidence in the aeroplane, more so now that the modifications have been incorporated. Those modifications are very important. It's through a huge amount of effort from individuals and from companies in both the UK and France that we've got to the point we're at.
I think I speak for everybody, and the French included. You know, it's been a good working partnership to try and get it back flying again.
It's very encouraging that now, as we approach that time, it's people inside the company who are saying, not whether, but when.
This is a big, big time for them, and we just can't wait to get the flagship flying again.
And when Concorde flies again, it'll be a great tribute to all those people that have been involved, and I'm sure they'll all be standing there looking up and wishing her well on her first flight.